Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome into Morning in the Valley. It is September the 17th as we continue our march towards November the 3rd and the start of the 2025-26 season. Glad you are with us this morning. Coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to be joined by I say brand new. She's been on the job for almost 6 months at this point. Courtney Boyd, the brand new head coach of the Valparaiso women's program, getting ready for season number one at Valpo with her new team. And so we'll talk with Coach Boyd about how the summer has gone and sort of how the insides are churning right now, getting ready for practice number one. Feels like a lot of the guys starting practice on Monday, which will be the 22nd. The women's season, which is kind of a week pushed back, a lot of them starting on the 29th. Basically, you've got 40 days to get 30 practices in. That's the general calendar. So when everybody starts may slide a day or two on the calendar, but it is coming most certainly. And that is what we are all so excited about. If you haven't done so already, I'm glad you are with us this morning. If you're a first time drop in, welcome. Hope you stick around for a while. If you've been here with us for a while, glad you're back. Either way, if you haven't done so already, please head over to YouTube and subscribe for free to our program, Morning in the Valley. Just subscribe to it, like it, share it, comment if you so choose. But every little piece of that equation helps us out in the grander algorithm to try to get this out in front of more Missouri Valley Conference loving folks. So appreciate all your continued support as we roll towards the start of the season. All right, today we start with commitment news. And how about Eric Henderson, the new head coach of the Drake Bulldogs, continuing to get some substantial pulls off the recruiting trail for the 2026 recruiting class, as he has picked up a commitment from Miles Flemons out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Miles, a 3-star commitment, 6'7" forward out of Tulsa, has committed to the Bulldogs. He had a bundle of offers that really came in late, in the last 3-4 months from this summer. A lot of times you see these kids and they get those offers when they're a freshman or a sophomore, and you're never really sure if they're committable offers. But, in the last 3 or 4 months, had offers within the Valley, obviously from Drake, from Bradley, from Indiana State, also from Bryant, Omaha, Florida Gulf Coast, Montana State, Missouri State, Toledo, Purdue, Fort Wayne. So had plenty of suitors. In the end, decides he wants to go to Des Moines and be a Bulldog. He is the number 4 prospect in the 2026 recruiting class out of the state of Oklahoma. You throw in Dothan Isadimbola, the number 4 prospect in the state of Minnesota, who committed to Drake last month. And, Isadimbola, which I will get his name right before he officially signs his paperwork. He is 6'6". You have Flemons, who is 6'7". And when you look at now the recruiting class as it is all started to come together, and recruiting classes and rankings are just different now because so much of the full recruiting class, you have to wait until April when you add the portal guys in. But in terms of just freshman recruiting, and that's a varying priority depending on the school nowadays. Obviously, some folks want to keep hammering freshmen. Some are like, we're going to go old and we're just going to get kids out of the portal in the spring. But from a freshman perspective, right now, and it's early, it's still mid-September, a lot of time for this, not very small sample size in a lot of ways, but the folks over at the old 247 Sports have Drake listed as having the 13th best recruiting class in the 2026 class. And you're like, yeah, okay. I mean, they've got 2 commitments, and both of those are kids that 247 Sports lists as 3-star recruits. Now, Southern Illinois, also, and Northern Iowa, those are the other 2 schools right now in the Valley that have two commitments for the class of 2026, but Drake is the only one that went 2 for 2 on what are listed, again, by 247 as 3 stars. SIU's got 1, UNI has 1. So by all that, the process of elimination, Drake is right now on September the 17th, they have the number one recruiting class in the Missouri Valley. So, but either way, it is Eric Henderson doing some work and building for the future already, and has gotten some dudes early. And the most recent one here is Miles Flemons. Okay, scheduling news. Got a chance yesterday to talk to our friend Harry Schrader, the Valley Hoops Insider. Had a little text exchange, and the breaking news out of that from Harry was that he had talked to someone in the conference office. If I am asked this question uh, once, I am asked it 10 times a week at this point from all corners of the footprint of the conference. When are we getting a conference schedule? At this point, we have just about got everybody, and I think we are just about. I'll have to double check my math. I think we have just about everybody's non-conference schedule on the men's and women's sides. But everybody wants to know, when are we getting a conference slate? And Harry told me that from somebody he talked to in the conference office, the short two-word answer was no idea. That it is not imminent by any stretch of the imagination at this point. So we just continue to wait. And again, we are still a couple days early compared to last year. It was, as I've said repeatedly, it was September the 20th last year that the men's conference schedule was released, but it is September 17th. And at this point, if memory serves, at this point, it appears we're going to be blowing right through September the 20th. If memory serves, 2 years ago, it may even have been like early October before we got it. So obviously, there is a lot of fans, they want to get excited about what's coming up. They want to be able to look at, who are our first couple games and how do we think we're going to start the season, and maybe we want to start planning trips and getting tickets and yada yada. But I promise you, there are no people in the basketball sort of ecosystem that are more chomping at the bit to get a schedule than the director of basketball ops folks, basically anybody involved in travel, because we are between having to get planes, having to get the big travel buses, getting hotels, getting meals taken care of. That's not something they're like, hey, Saturday we're going to be there, so we need 40 rooms and yada yada on that. So they are chomping at the bit without question to be able to get that information in. But again, at this moment, no word, nothing imminent. And so just sit back and buckle in, and hopefully, we will get it very, very soon. Southern Illinois released officially announced the release of their schedule yesterday, I believe it was. Might have been late Monday afternoon, but we've got their schedule, and again, nothing that was previously reported was of a surprise. Checking this out, I think ultimately the part that's a challenge is just 4 home games out of 11 in the non-conference. One of those being a non-Division One game, but the games you've got Kansas City, you've got UT Martin, those great quad four opportunities. It's going to be a challenging game with Little Rock, as we talked about last week, coming in one of the going to be probably the preseason pick to win the Ohio Valley Conference. The road schedule is really where the rubber will meet the road for this Saluki team: at Nevada, at Richmond, at High Point, at Memphis, at North Dakota State. 4 Q1 and Q2 opportunities there for the Salukis. The news that we learned yesterday, thanks to our friend Rocco Miller from bracketeer.org, who is so involved in these in this scheduling world, is that he put out the schedule that is official now for the Jacksonville Classic. The Salukis put out, hey, we're in the Jacksonville Classic on November 23rd and 24th, but there were no games announced. Well, now we know the matchups, as they will take on Delaware on Sunday the 23rd, and then they will get UAB the next day on Monday the 24th, leading into Thanksgiving week. In the end, there was, and as we talked about when the field was announced for the Jacksonville Classic, that in many ways this was these are 10 teams. It was just going to be some games. There weren't going to be any brackets. It was just a matter of it was kind of like, boy, these are the 10 teams that are just stuck and couldn't find any dance partners for any other MTEs. And so, hey, we'll all meet in Jacksonville and figure it out from there. So there was really no great opportunities for any of them, but UAB on the Bart Torvik projections looking about 116. So they could climb into a quad 2. Delaware is going to be a quad 4 this year. My favorite part of the whole thing is the bottom line there. UNC Greensboro and Miami of Ohio. Uh, Miami of Ohio, not in this event, but they were like, hey, we'll come to Jacksonville, which is the same thing that happened to Murray State last year, where UT Arlington, Murray State desperately needed a game, couldn't get one, and they needed a 31st game, and UT Arlington was looking for a game, and UT Arlington was playing in this event. They're like, hey, if you want to come down a day early, we'll play it ahead of time. And so a team from Kentucky and a team from Texas flew to Florida to play each other on a one-off. So that's what we're getting from Greensboro and Miami of Ohio. But the SIU schedule is now complete, and it's just about go time, and all the hand wringing in Carbondale can now end because we finally got ourselves a schedule. All right, we finally have our guest, and I say finally, she's right on time, as I would expect all head coaches to be. I almost expect them to be 15 minutes early just to hold up all the rules of their own program. She is Courtney Boyd. She's the head coach of the Valparaiso Beacons. Coach Boyd, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Welcome back. Glad to have you here this morning. The last time you joined this silly program 5 months ago, you were sitting in an office, and there was a desk behind you, a brown desk, and it sort of looked like a hostage video. That there was nothing on the walls, there's nothing. And I now see the office is locked and loaded. We've come a long way, haven't we?
Yeah, we feel a little bit more like our feet are underneath us instead of, I don't know, like 50 yards behind us. So this is a great start.
Wonderful. Wonderful. How has, you'd been there a month, maybe when we last talked. Now you've been there almost 6. How has life overall on the court, away from the court, all of it just kind of settled down for you?
It's crazy that your count is almost 6 because mine feels like we are still in month 1.
Yeah.
But it's much better. We're in a spot that we've been able to get on the court with each other. We've been able to spend time with each other. I've been able to sit in my athletic director's office, met with a lot of the senior staff and tried to figure out what makes sense behind the scenes. What are the expectations? So we have a lot more direction than we did the last time that you and I talked. And I think that's the place you have to start is, not only what are the expectations from the people above you, but at the same time, what do you want the expectations and realistic expectations to be in year 1 in order to kind of take off going forward?
It's such a challenge, I think, for anybody taking over a program and taking over a program where there was a coaching change, and it's like, okay, it's not like you guys are, you guys won a national title and you're coming in and everything's clicking at 100 miles an hour.
Right.
How do you balance the long-term vision and goal of what you want to accomplish in 2030 as opposed to what you want to accomplish and need to be able to accomplish in 25, 26?
Yeah, I think that it changes every day, right? You get excited about a few things and you're like, "Oh, this could be really good quick." And then you're like, "Okay, we've got to take a couple steps back and we've got some, adjustment to do." And that whether that's on the court currently, whether that's in the recruiting realm, whether that, it just depends on what happens that day, as you know. Every day can be a little bit different. But I think what we have really focused on and we've really tried to do is we have focused on the culture, and I know that that's everybody's buzzword, and I want to be where, there's good people. But I truly do believe that that is what is going to take us to where we need to be. We were missing an identity when I first got here. And so we had to get them to start to buy into that. And there are days where we're still not there. So we have taken, whether it be talent or X's and O's or, those types of different things that are actually basketball related, those took a back seat over the summer. And we spent a lot of time on the court together, but we did things a little bit backwards. We did a lot of team stuff, do we know where everybody's going to be at what time, regardless of what our offense or defense looks like? And I think that has really paid dividends in being able to get into almost practice 5 days a week here, but being able to spend more time on the court with each other, but understanding that um, we want to be around each other. We want to win for the other person. Because if we were to do it the other way and we were to focus on, who's scoring 30 and how are we going to attempt to get ourselves to that next step in year one, year three, we'd be doing this all again. And I think that that would be a completely different outlook in how we've chosen to recruit as well. So we started with the group that we had. We've tried to get into we were late getting into our 26s. So we're still trying to piece that together. We feel way better about our 27s, even though we know we're behind there. So that 28 class, to your point of 2030 or however far out it is, that's a really important class. And so we start to get ahead in the places that we can. And when we know we're a little bit behind, we have to keep that what's most important right now, and winning championships. Of course, that's everybody's goal, but we got to be realistic. And those baby steps are going to be important depending on how we are when we're around each other and how hard we're competing for each other.
You talked about culture and came across that every coach has their pillars and buzzwords and all that, and it's the ignite, rise, electrify, achieve, and outshine. Where do we come up with those, and how are they being applied and maybe received by the kids so far?
Yeah, I think, every team that I've been a part of, the identity is it makes sense at some point. At first, they're like, I don't, this is the most, stop saying that. That's, you know, it doesn't make sense. That's not cool, coach, whatever. And I think my goal every year with the group that we have is the more uncool we can make it, the better off we are. Because then there's going to be times where, they're laughing about the goofiest thing. Oh, make sure that you're outshining today, or make sure that you're igniting someone, and we found out throughout the years that you could say, like, be an energy giver, right? But everybody says that. So how can we say the same thing with one quick, simple word? Or how can we say the same thing in our own way? Well, being the beacons, we can't go to, talking about lions or talking about eagles or anything like that. So we went with the light. We went with the light. And so when we looked at what a beacon was and we looked into the definition of that, it made sense. We were trying to start something, and it's a directional thing. And the beacon of light when you're on the boat is showing you what direction to go in. And so hopefully becoming outshining, doing, using those four things, we can head in a direction where we're setting ourselves up for success. And each one of those pillars or words to us mean a little bit different thing. And it means it on the court, in the classroom, in the community. We try to make sure all of those things, when we talk about it, it doesn't just mean how many wins, how many baskets we make. So we tried to tie it all together. Some people are more creative than I am, so they bring me out the ideas, and then I try to piece it together, and we end on a pretty good result. So we're gonna see.
6 months in, has there been any real tangible, noticeable difference from going from Division 2 to Division 1 as a head
Yes,
coach?
honestly, there has, and the X's and O's are the X's and O's. Everything inside the lines is exactly the same. I have tried to figure out the two most noticeable things right now for me are I went from myself and, one to two assistants at my side to an entire army of people,
Sure.
and trying to get them just as well oiled as our team on the outside of the lines. And so the managing people part and how we want that to look and what the expectations are, that's the number one thing that's really jumped out at me. And then the recruiting process. I mean, if I were at Quincy right now talking about 28s, we'd feel like we were in a fantastic spot, right? Um, Talking about 28s right now, it's like, why aren't we where we need to be? So I think that the timeline of what recruiting looks like and how early that starts and all the details that go into that, and then definitely having, instead of having three people total at the table when we're planning anything,
Sure.
there's quite a few of us, so we got to make sure that everything's going in the right direction.
Have you reached out to anyone? I mean, are there any mentors in your coaching life where you're just like, "Phew, this is just different. Not that I can't handle it, but just different." And can you help me get around the learning curve a little faster?
Yeah, I've really, I really respect my boss, and so I use her a lot. She was not a mentor before I came here. We first met on the interview process, but I do appreciate the leadership and her directness and yes and no, and you're the CEO of your program, but try this or try that. I think that that's gone a really long ways. I lean on our men's coach a lot. He's been in the Division 1 world for a while, whether it be assistant coach or playing or those types of things. And I know how it's different to navigate. But honestly, outside of that, as far as Division 1, I still go back to my people. I still go back to my hey, when you're talking to these coaches, my NAIA coaches, when you're talking to these coaches, because some of them are AAU coaches that are also NAIA head coaches, what are they asking? What am I missing? So I'll go back to my junior college coach, Coach Mole at Kirkwood, and say, when they're recruiting your kids, what are they asking? So I try to go to the people that have directly met with them or interacted with them, because I can look up the rules, right? And so I think that that's the biggest difference. But how am I staying? How am I trying to stay? That's kind of a catch 22. How am I trying to stay ahead? How am I trying to stay? We're not really keeping up with the Joneses type of group, but how do we keep everything at the forefront? And are there things that we are missing because we're not asking the right questions? So I would say keep your people, and because they really do want the best for you. So if they don't know it, they're more apt to find that answer for you or help you out. I don't want other people to think I'm trying to steal their recipe.
Sure.
So, um, and honestly, and then there are a couple of people that throughout that I've really been able to keep in touch with and trust. And so, but it's been more of my past coaches. So.
I'm I'm presuming there has been a Missouri Valley Conference coaches meeting at some point in the spring or the summer that you've gone over there. What was that like going? You're the new kid on the block, the only first timer, if memory serves this year, a first time Valley coach. What's it like walking in? Is the you got to bring donuts? Or is there hazing? What do they do to you?
You know what? I should have. See, now you're saying, who do you reach out to know what the heck to do? I should have reached out and been like, what do you think I should bring? It was humbling, honestly. So a little NAI coach going to the D2 level, having a little bit of success, but success means something different to everybody. And no matter what room you walk in, nobody cares about that. Let's be
Right.
honest. Right. And so walking into that room, knowing the success that's in that room, I do care about that because now I get to learn, I get to be challenged, I get to coach against them on a weekly basis once we get to it. And it was really humbling sitting next to X amount of teams that just made it to the postseason. Obviously we had NCAA tournament appearance, and then we had a handful in the BI and WBIT, and then NIT. Like, I've never experienced that. I've never experienced that on a player's level. I've never experienced that on a coach's level. And we were able to make waves all the way to the championship game of the WBIT. And so I think sitting amongst that and just hearing how they think, the questions that are important to them, what makes their team go, and that was really an eye opener for me. And do I need to keep my mindset the same in how I approach scheduling or how I approach this, or is it time to flip? And then again, back to your point, I need to find more resources. So it was honestly great. They were very welcoming. I'm not sure how that goes once we start games, but they've been great. I can't complain. Giving me a lot of rah rahs and motivation, and you're gonna be fine. But I do think it's a great group of coaches too. So I'm excited about being on the same court as them, even if it's in the other color.
You guys are all friends until January 1st, and then it's
That's
real.
right.
What
That's right.
what was important to you when you walked into that meeting? Or was it just, I'm just going to sit here and listen and take notes?
No, I think there's value in not being at Division 1 your entire career, or not being at Division 1 in the last 5 years. And I'm not saying that we did it right. I'm not saying that everything that happened at another level is the way that we should go to. But I think that for the most part, I wanted to walk in and take it all in, but I didn't wanna. I mean, my job is to put Valpo out there. My job is to put Valpo on the map somehow. My job is to have there be respect behind Valparaiso University women's basketball. So I didn't wanna walk in and, completely crawl under the desk and just listen. but there's a time and a place. And so when I had a question, I would ask it. When I didn't understand what we were actually trying to accomplish, I would try to clear it up. But I think just hearing what was going on around me, and honestly, my goal at the end of the day was walking. When I walked out, I wanted to have a better understanding of the conference and the conference expectations. Who are we playing? How tough do we want to be? Where does everybody think that we should be? And how come we didn't reach that? That was kind of my goal, because obviously, if that's our goal as a conference, then we've got work to
I have in following all the programs around the conference and just seeing you and Roger Powell this summer, the men's coach there at Valpo. Community is very important at Valparaiso. You guys have had you had your popcorn festival a couple of
do.
weeks ago. We saw the coaches tour all around back in the spring. What have you learned about the Valparaiso community and sort of the synergy between the community and the athletics department and the women's basketball program as a whole?
I think the community is going to be what makes us go, honestly. And I know everybody says that, but we're in a town of 34,000 people or less. We're an hour and 15 minutes from Chicago, but there are things here I do truly feel like, and it's not just because I'm here now, but it's because I had never been. But it's a hidden gem. I mean, we've got the beach 20 minutes away until it gets freezing cold, right? We've got we can go to Chicago and hop on a plane in an hour and 10 minutes if we get the right flight and we don't have to do traffic. Like but we can also jump over to Indianapolis, or we can go here. It is where the people are coming from in the community, I think that's probably the biggest thing for us. It feels like a college town here with 34,000 people. Well, those 34,000 people live here on a daily basis. You add a few people that are living here and working in Chicago, or they're coming for the university experience, or they're moving in because they want to get out of the city. It creates just a bigger city feel because that's where everybody's coming from. So getting that excitement around, we are the Division I university in your city with 35,000 people. Let's do this. And so the picture you're looking at right now is us. We went on our coaches tour and we jumped behind Valpo Velvet, which is phenomenal. Homemade ice cream, by the way. But we went behind the counter and we served ice cream. That might have been one of the hardest things I've done all summer. I couldn't find, like where the rocky road was. I didn't know where the sherbet was. It was wild. So that picture, we're all kind of laughing at each other, but we're acting like we know what we're doing. So that was great. We were able to get out in the community, but also Laurel does a good job of getting us coaches together. Being in the popcorn festival, our team ran. There's a little puff race, and so they do a block and then 2 blocks and then 3 blocks, and our girls ran with them the whole time. It does have a small town feel, which is where my heart is. But as far as being a bigger city and wanting success for their Division I athletics, they're doing a great job of supporting that.
Roger Powell said he earned a lot of respect for the ice cream scoopers as well. He said
It's,
that's
right. I'm not making it up.
he never would have imagined it'd have been that way. On the court this summer, you got to work with the kids and you lose your top 4 scorers, but boy, you got 6 through 10 back, and to have when you're trying to build your culture and there are holdovers and there are leftovers. How does I know leftovers isn't the right word. The kids that hold over.
Right.
Um, is it more challenging to try to mold them because they're used to something else rather than just a complete refresh and we're gonna have 15 new kids, or does some of that continuity help bridge the gap a little easier for you?
I think some of the continuity helps. Obviously, you got to change the mindset, right? Like you've got to get in and say, hey, we're not going to run the same offense, same defense. We're not going to shoot from the same places. We're not going to travel the same way. Like we're going to do things different. And as long as you can get on board with that, my job is to put you in a place to be the most successful that you can be. So if you can buy into that, then we're going to be just fine. Well, the best part about having those returners, those holdovers, is they understand where to take the recruits when they come to town. They understand what it's like on game day and either where we need to go or what we need to keep the same. So I think that they chose to stay for a reason. So they didn't hate Valpo. Um, they maybe they did. Maybe they transferred too many times. They're like, I'm not doing that again, right? I try not to get to the nitty gritty of any of that. But so far, when I asked them, why did you stay? That was their answer. It's like, I like it here. I think that we can go somewhere. I think we can do some things. The reason I was recruited and the reason I chose were these reasons, like those things. That goes a long way. So then when I can grab a few people to finish off our team and get our team started in the right direction, I think that bridging that gap, to your point, is really important. Hey, that's not what we do here. Regardless if it's my culture or someone 4 coaches away, that's not what we do at Valpo. And then what we do with women's basketball is we just integrate it into Valpo. Hey, the professors are great, but you need to make sure you're doing this in order to get on the bus on time or whatever.
Right.
If I were to have just taken a whole new team, we would have been fighting a lot more battles. Positive or negative, but we would have been fighting a lot more battles if we wouldn't have had them. So I'm actually grateful that they're here, and their personality, they're not too bad to be around. So that makes it better.
Well, that's it. Knuckleheads make life hard. So good.
Right.
Nice. So schedule completed. I know this is a challenge at every level for every head coach everywhere trying to put it together. What were your goals in putting this non-conference schedule together, and how many of those goals did you get to meet?
Well, our goal was to complete the schedule. When you come in, you try to track down the schedule that was already signed off on. Where are all of those contracts? When are we traveling? We can't play back-to-backs in certain situations. Like, there were things that we weren't going to do, and we knew that. After that, it was like, who still has an opening? How far are you away? How many, are you paying us? Are you not? Or is it a winnable game, or is it more competition? Like, where are we at? And so once we got through that checklist of things that we knew that we wanted to try to hit on, I feel like we're in a decent spot. Going forward, there would be things where if it's a longer trip, we'd try to hit two teams, while we're away, or we might take a longer trip and do a different MTE than Cleveland State. But I think that the teams that are on our schedule right now, and the way that we're home and away, I mean, we get to go right down the road to DePaul, and we're going to be tested exactly where we stand.
Yeah.
Some people might hate that. I love it, because we're going to know. We are on the road, what feels like a lot, just because of where everything is and how long we're gone. But I do think that there's going to be things that we benefit from before we get into the tough of the valley.
To your point, 8 of your first 9 games are away from home. 1 game before December 12th at home. What is your biggest coaching paranoia concern about that, the way that schedule sort of lines up the first month of the year?
Rest and recovery, honestly. I think that there's something to be said, and every coach will say it, is sleeping in their own bed. But the other thing, and this is funny that you brought it up, we just talked about it yesterday, is we have to be okay with adversity as well. So you are going to be tired. Everybody's tired. You are going to have to play games that are a little bit further away, and then you're on the bus or the plane for a little bit longer. I also think that there's something to be said for creating a schedule that is going to mimic whatever postseason anybody's trying to set themselves up for. So we don't get to play postseason at home, right? So why not start the season the way that our goal is to end the season? And so if we're able to do that, then we can say, hey, you've done that before. We're about to go to an MTE. We're going to play 3 games in 4 days. So we've prepped you for that. We're going to go and we're going to play this team, and this team played Team X in our conference, and we'll be able to watch film and we'll be able to see how that looked and prep for that. When you're on the road and things don't go, whatever, there could be any adversity. And so we talked about all of those things yesterday, and just how we have to be able to be the team that adjusts to adversity faster. And if we're able to do that, this road schedule, it is going to be tiring. We all might look a little year older by the time January gets here. but it's hopefully going to set us up for what the intensity of our conference is about to look like.
Days before practice number one, what is the overriding emotion in your gut right now?
Let's do this, but I don't know if I'm ready. I think the let's do this comes from let's get a little more continuity. Let's get our team where we need to be. Let's get them getting more confidence in each other, and hopefully our staff can wrap our brain around what that looks like and how we're going to prep for that. The I'm not sure if I'm ready is, you get a little imposter syndrome every once in a while, and I had to pick my boss's brain about that. But I'm a normal human being, and I think some people talk about it and some people don't, but it's real.
Yeah.
I've never been here, never played at this level, never done any of this. Like, can I really do this? So I think practice is going to help with that. Like, well, too bad if you can't do it. You got to do it. It's just going to throw me to the wolves a little bit. And my staff has really been supportive of like, hey, we're really just rolling through this. We're trying to figure it out. But I'm ready for the team. I will get there, but I think until we get to that first game, I'll feel a little uneasy of how prepared we really are.
That first game, November the 4th, on the road at DePaul, 48 short days away. Courtney Boyd, head coach of the Valparaiso women's program. Thank you again so much for coming back. Your office looks awesome, and we can't wait to see more stuff hanging on the wall the next time you come back. So thank you for the time, and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Jeff, I really appreciate it. This is great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, there is head coach Courtney Boyd. No need for imposter syndrome. That Valpo program is in very good hands as they get ready for season number one, November the 4th at DePaul, firing away. 8 of the first 9 on the road. It will be a challenge, and for somebody that's does the radio gig and spends a lot of time on the bus, I pray for all of you having to spend on the bus for that long. But November 4th, they'll be firing up. November 3rd, the first official day of the season. Cannot wait to get there for all of us. So I want to thank Courtney Boyd for being with us. If you have not done so already, please head to YouTube and subscribe for free to Morning in the Valley. Like, share, comment, all that good stuff. And very much appreciate your support, continued support of this silly little program. Hope you have a great Wednesday. Hope you have a great rest of your week. We'll see you Friday morning right here at 9 a.m. on Morning in the Valley.